Can you tell me how are the votes cast in Virginia? Are they cast on paper ballots or touchscreen machines?
They're all cast on either touchscreen or dial screen or optical scan.
Okay.
Most of the localities in Virginia have direct recording electronic machines, but we do have a number that have probably maybe a quarter that have optical scan machines. It's a local option.
Okay. Can you tell me whether or not you can see a optical scan computer count?
When you say optical scan count, tell me what you mean.
I mean, when someone's feeding the ballots through them, can they see the machine count?
They can see there is every machine, electronic or optical scan, has two counters that record the numbers of votes cast. One is a public counter that records the number of votes cast for that election, which must be set at 0 in the morning of the election. The other one is what's called a protective counter, and it records the total number of votes that have been cast on the machine since it was built.
Okay.
And the public counter should be in a place where it can be seen relatively easily.
Okay.
And they are checked throughout the day to make sure that they agree, and that they agree with the poll book count sheet that the officers of election use to record the numbers of voters.
So you're reconciling to make sure that the number of votes which are counted by the machines match with the number of voters who have signed in at the polls.
Right.
Okay. But can you actually see a DRE machine count?
In terms of the number of voters that are voted on the machine, or are you talking about results?
Well, I'm actually talking about seeing the machine count. Is there any way to see the machine count?
I know I'm being dense here, and I know I should understand what you're saying. Can you see the machine actually record that it recorded a vote?
Correct.
Only that the public counter will trip over.
All right, so the public counter will say, someone just voted on this machine.
Yes.
Okay. But you won't be able to tell how they voted.
Right.
Okay. So the votes for the particular candidates would be counted in secret.
Yes.
Okay. Now I've got another question for you. I looked at the Constitution of Virginia, and Article 2, Section 3 allows, it says, voting shall be by ballot or by machines for receiving, recording, and counting votes cast. So it gives the option of allowing people to vote on machines and count on machines, but it also says in the second paragraph, the ballots, it's a long sentence, but let me just read it to you. Secrecy in casting votes shall be maintained, but the ballot box or voting machine shall be kept in public view and shall not be opened, nor the ballots canvassed, nor the votes counted in secret. So it seems that if we can't see the votes being counted on the machines, although they're allowed, that certainly doesn't comply with the prohibition in the Constitution against counting votes in secret. I was wondering, is that something that anyone thought much about when they put in these DRE machines?
That's a question I can't answer. That I think would be a legal question for one of our legal counsel.
Okay. Can you flip me over to one of your legal counsel?
Sure.
Thanks, Barbara. So are you legal counsel?
I am a policy analyst, and I am an attorney, and yes, sir.
Okay.
And what was your name, sir?
My name is Mark Adams.
Mark Adams, and what paper?
Well, I'm writing this for Op-Ed News.
Op-Ed News, okay.
Yeah. And my question, I was asking about the machines and how they count, and since you're a policy analyst as well as legal counsel there.
I did not I did not. I am an attorney.
Oh, okay.
But the legal counsel for the agency is the Office of the Attorney General.
Oh, okay. So, well, maybe you can answer this question, or maybe you're going to refer me to the Office of the Attorney General. But I'll go ahead and ask you. I have to ask you one predicate question first. Can you see a DRE machine count votes?
I know that there's a great deal of information about DRE machines available on the internet. Have you researched it from that standpoint, from a general information standpoint?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, I would have to say that I don't know.
Okay. Well, can you see any computer count?
I mean, an important thing to consider is that the Virginia Constitution, there's voter privacy, but voting is to be, let me refer you to that section. Method of voting.
Yeah, it's Article 2, Section 3.
Right. Right there. It says, secrecy in casting votes shall be maintained except for assistance to handicap is allowed. Ballot box or voting machine shall be kept in public view. So,
And shall not be open, nor the ballot's canvassed, nor the vote.
So you have that section. Good.
Yeah. And see, the interesting part of that section to me is the part where it says, nor the ballot's canvassed, nor the votes counted in secret. And, of course, no human being can see a computer count. We have to have faith in the machine that is counting accurately. So, although Article 2, Section 3 does say on the first paragraph, voting shall be by ballot or by machines for receiving, recording, and counting votes cast. So it obviously does allow an option of using machines to count votes. The prohibition against counting votes in secret, in order to give both prohibitions or both provisions effect.
So I mean, sir, you're asking obviously a legal question, and I think that it could conceivably even require a court determination to resolve the issue. You're presenting a novel legal question, and I don't to try and capture something that somebody says into a conclusive documentation of your point is going to be. I mean, I think it might take more than that.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly the prohibition against counting votes in secret seems to militate against allowing elections to be conducted on DREs, because there's no way any person can ever see that the vote has been counted correctly. Obviously, with optical scan, the machine could count it, but then you could have a public vote count too, so the machine count could be for convenience, since it's an option that is allowed. But since the prohibition is in the Constitution against counting votes in secret, it seems like the DREs would be something that would not be allowed by Virginia's Constitution.
Well, okay, you say you feel that with optical scan it's more visible what is occurring?
No, you can't see the computer count there either, but at least you have a paper ballot that could be counted in public on election night also, and that would be what would seem to be allowed as the official count, since the Virginia Constitution prohibits counting votes in secret. But I take it you all don't do a count of the OptiScan ballots, do you? Well,
I mean, one issue that's going to need to be addressed if you have the opposition to DREs is that we found recently that the federal Help America Vote Act, the Disabilities Access, the DREs are very beneficial to the handicapped voters, and in fact, the Justice Department and working on pre-clearing a special election essentially insisted that there be one DRE per precinct for use by handicapped voters. So, I mean, people have this, and I think the fact that their favored method of accommodation is something that's important to consider. And federal law, I mean, Virginia's federal law is higher than Virginia's Constitution.
Well, that's, once again, Congress has only enumerated powers, and the power for conducting an election is specifically the state's power, Article 1, Section 4. So you would think in deciding how votes are counted in a state, certainly the state constitution would be considered.
Well, it's definitely considered, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just that if federal law, if a voter, there was an accommodation available to a voter and they asserted a federal right to it, then the idea that the state constitution would make it unavailable to them when it was available to them under federal law, that would be a difficult issue. We have had, the state has had litigation where it often comes up in the context of banks. For example, they say that they're governed by federal law, not state law, and so they don't, and federal law will override state law. So it's just happened before. I mean, that's just.
Oh yeah, well, there's certainly different areas of law where the federal government has. In
the Voting Rights Act, certainly. I mean, everything Virginia does has to, that affects voting. Any change affecting voting, we have to submit it to the Justice Department and have it pre-cleared.
Yeah, certainly, and the thing that's interesting to me though is that even under federal law, the Constitution is interpreted as allowing the voters not only to cast their ballots, but to know that they were counted accurately. And of course, Virginia's Constitution is one of the constitutions that specifically prohibits counting votes in secret, and that's a prohibition mainly used to protect the accuracy of the vote count. And I just wondered whether or not that issue had really been raised in Virginia yet.
Well, one thing that refers to is they have the electoral board meets the day after the election and ascertains the results, and then they also have getting the results off of the machines at the end of the day. That's a public. That's not secret activity. So
So at the end of the day, the public can watch somebody hit total on the machine and it prints out a result?
Yes. There's a process. There's certain observers allowed, and I would need to refer you to the code section on getting the results at the end of the day. The persons who may be lawfully present at the time.
Right.
That's determination of the vote on the voting equipment. So you would be able to see that. But that's the issue. I am not aware of it, but I'm not aware that this specific issue has ever been raised. But I'll ask around. If I learn anything, I'll be happy to call you.
Okay. Well, hold on. Let me ask you.
Telephone number. Let's see. Where are you? What locality?
I'm in Florida.
Florida. Okay.
Yeah. And I've got another just question. Was there a commission that studied the voting options that were provided by HAVA and made the determinations to go to DREs, or how did that come about?
Well, there was a study, and it's available on our General Assembly website, a study commission, a legislative study commission that looked at voting equipment security and the safety and security of voting equipment. So that is available on the Virginia General Assembly website as a report to the General Assembly.